Okay, we're going to start tonight's meeting. Thank you for this turnout. I took the under. Someone told me it was going to be 25 people. I took the under. I think I was wrong. So thank you for coming out. I'm the first Selectman Bob Carlson. We also have Selectman Brett Mastriani, Selectwoman Nicole Porter, our town clerk, Antoinette Pancaro, our new admin finance officer, Amanda Desnoyes, and our outgoing admin finance officer, Christine Dias, this is her last appearance. I'm sure, right? This is the last one, but it's you. Anyway, so we have 3 students in the audience. And I think their names are Hannah, Valentina, and Luna. Is that correct? Can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, so in a town meeting, what we have to do is we get someone to run the town meeting, and that's called a moderator. It's not the Board of Selectmen. It's not myself. So I'm going to open up nominations now for a moderator for tonight's town meeting. Do I hear any nominations? Any nominations? Yes, Stephanie. Nomination, Lisa Rizzo. Do I hear a second? Mike Anderson. Okay, we have. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close nominations. So your nomination, a first and a second, with Lisa Mazzella. All those in favor of having Lisa Mazzella moderate this meeting, say aye. Opposed? Lisa, thank you. You are now moderating the meeting.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll go over the ground rules for the town meeting. All town residents wishing to speak shall raise their hand to be recognized. I'll call speakers one at a time to the microphone. Before you comment, please state your name and address. Comments must be on topic, addressed solely to the question on the agenda. Individuals may have a second opportunity to speak only after everyone wishing to speak once has been recognized. Each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes and cannot yield their time to another. Voter eligibility is summarized as follows. All registered voters of North Stonington and all persons owning at least $1,000 of taxable property on the last grand list are eligible to vote on these questions. Any person not legally qualified who fraudulently votes in any town meeting or votes more than once shall be fined not less than $300 or more than $500 and shall be imprisoned not less than 1 year or more than 2 years and shall be disenfranchised. Voting by assuming the name of another shall be guilty of a Class D felony, Section 9-360. It's important to note that those attending this meeting online, although they may comment and give input, but they will not be able to vote. The voting is in person only. Following the discussion, I'll call to move the question to vote. A voice vote will be called indicating yay or nay, and should it be determined that the voice vote was inconclusive, I'll ask for a show of hands. Hearing no objections, these are the rules of the town meeting. I'll now ask the town clerk to read the call.
Warning is hereby given to the electors and those entitled to vote at town meetings of the town of North Stonington that a special town meeting shall be held at the following location on the date and time indicated for the purposes of transacting the business set forth below. Location, North Stonington Education Center Media Center, 298 Norwich Westerly Road. Date, December 4th, 2023, time 6:30 p.m. Only those attending the meeting in person will be able to vote. The meeting will be available for comment and viewing through Zoom at the link noted in the call, but those attending virtually will not be able to vote. All supporting documentation will be available on the town website, www.northstoningtonct.gov, and the Zoom link for viewing and public comment only was given in the call of the meeting. Number 1. Shall the town approve the amended 5-year local capital improvement plan as presented for fiscal years 2024 to 2028.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and then a second to approve the call for discussion? Ann
And-
Norwalk. Second, Mike Anderson. Okay, the floor is now open.
All right. And at least if we need Don Hills here, the foreman, to, if there's any questions on LoSiP, he can answer it also.
Okay. Okay, so for anyone wishing to comment or speak, if you can just step to the microphone.
Just so you all understand the LoSiP money, this is money given to the town for capital improvement projects. None of this comes out of any of our funds here. It comes from the state and is given to us. We had a LoSiP balance last year of $34,000 that we not use, which carry over to the estimated funding from the state of $73,000, gave us $108,679. We're intending to use that money to upgrade the compactors at the transfer station. If you haven't heard about it, we're going to make a big change to our transfer station. It'll save the taxpayers a lot of money in the long run, over $400 a haul right now that we're paying for Casella. We're going to haul it ourselves. Basically going to go into our own trash hauling business. It's not going to come out of our normal budget. Also, this following year, we're looking to chip seal and crack seal Ryder Road. How we determine these roads is we look at, I track when the roads were done last. And then we go out and actually look at the roads, and based on how much we go out there to patch the roads or how much the guys are spending on these roads repairing. And Ryder Road is the one that needs to be done next. And then the following year, we're looking to do Tom Wheeler Road, which is a chip seal project also. And then Ella Wheeler after that. Ella Wheeler is a small road. I believe there's 2 residents on that road still. But we are looking to do something with that. And then the following year after that, 2728 is North and Wheeler Road, which is a short section. So we try to use this money for smaller projects because the state likes it when all the money goes to that project and not split it up to do different projects. So we're only allowed to do roads and Christine, a little bit of building stuff as long as it's fixed to the building, correct? Okay. So those are what we're allowed to do with. So just so you understand why we're doing this. And also this is not set in stone. The only one that's set in stone is the 1 to 108 is what we're looking to do for the compactor. Things can change on this. We can move stuff around. If something else comes up that the money needs to go to, we can do that. But this is what the plan we have in place now.
Are there any questions? No discussion or comments? No? Okay, then I would ask for a motion to move the question to vote. Mike Anderson makes the motion, seconded by Stephanie Mastrioni. All in favor? Opposed? I would say motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. I would ask the town clerk to read the second question.
Question number 2, shall the town approve an additional appropriation in the amount of $426,153 for use of partially reimbursable state steep grant funds for improvements of buildings and athletic fields as recommended by the Board of Finance? They hear it?
Did everybody hear that?
Do you want me to read the question again? Okay. Okay. Question number 2. Shall the town approve an additional appropriation in the amount of $426,153 for use of partially reimbursable state steep grant funds for improvements of buildings and athletic fields as recommended by the Board of Finance.
You gonna give some information, Bob?
So a little bit. So if you don't know what STEEP is, we're allowed to apply for a grant from the state. Not every year, but we're lucky we were able to last year and the year before. In both years, we were one of a few towns that were able to get the grant we asked for. So we can look to do projects that normally I'm budgeted for in our budget and get the state to pay back, reimburse us 80% of what we put into it. So the Board of Selectmen looked at what we had. There was a few different projects that came to us, but the ones we decided on were the HVAC for the central office, the irrigation of the athletic fields, and the new roof on the two-story wing, which is the old high school. With that said, the monies that now we have quotes on this that we use for the STEEP grant. The thing is, if you put a quote in for a STEEP grant and you get it, and it runs over what your quote is, the town has to pick up the difference. They're only going to give you 80% of what we originally asked for. So the quotes could be a little bit higher to make sure we have enough to cover the project, because by the time we start the project, just through inflation, it could go up. But before we do any of these three projects, we're going to go back to an RFP. So that means that we're going to go and ask for quotes. We'll have to get a minimum of 3 quotes on each of these projects. So they could come in quite a bit less, or at least we hope they're going to come in less than what we bid through the state. And that way, now we won't get to keep that money, but we won't have to pay any extra. So if the roofs, will say for the two-story wing, we quoted at 200,000 and it comes in at 150, we won't get to keep the extra 50. But if it comes in at 225, we do have to pay the extra 25. So that's why the quotes are a little bit higher, but we will get RFPs on all these things before we do these projects. And so if there's any other questions, also Don Hill can answer or Christine can answer. Yes, I can't see who that is. Oh, it's Carolyn. I didn't have my glasses on. Sorry. Carolyn Howell. You can talk about whatever you want. Yeah.
So, Carolyn, you live in town.
Is the microphone on there?
Oh, I don't know. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Ann? Okay, I'll try to speak up. So I just have a question. I'm just curious if you've discussed like where the water supply would come from to, feed the irrigation for the fields.
Yeah, the Board of Ed did a full study on the water supply, coming from wells. There's Board of Ed members here that, the past chair, Christine Wagner's here, and the new chair, Stephanie Rastor. I'm sure one of those can fill in a bit on how that came about. But that was all done by their study prior to us even, entertaining the idea of using as for a STEEP grant.
So you're not planning on attaching to the public water supply? It would be a private well or some sort of.
I was gonna, I believe, and Christine and Stephanie, let me know if I'm wrong, but this is coming from a well on the property, correct? It's not tying into public water.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that we weren't going to be paying for
No,
public
no,
water.
we're not.
Okay,
No.
all right. Thank you. That's all.
That was it? I'm glad I knew the answer. Joe Casada.
Question is, I live in China, but I moved.
Joe Casada, Wyosop Road.
So
Yeah.
I didn't get clarification. What she said that the
How
well,
many we have?
the water's coming from for the lawn? Okay. My other question is, it says anticipated STEEP funding. Can you educate me? What's that mean? Anticipated, that we're not sure we're getting this money, or we already have this?
No, we've already have the money. It's been approved.
And the guaranteed, guarantee matching funding, that's what actually the town's putting in to match.
So we're putting in 20%. Now the school's putting in their 20% through the non-lapsing fund.
Yeah.
The town's putting in our 20% through the undesignated fund.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Wayne.
Wayne Coates, 108 Wyosop. I have a couple questions about the roof. Wasn't this You're talking about this roof here, correct?
Nope, just the roof over the two-story Wayne Wayne, the
Yeah.
old high school. This roof was done when the school renovation was done.
Is that like in the last 5 years or something like that?
This roof? Yes, it was done when we did the, across the street, when we built the new schools. It was part of the
And
building
that
project.
was-
No, that was never done. It wasn't part of the building project.
As far as the irrigation goes, I have some questions. What kind of study was done to, come up with a solution that there was enough water in that old well to supply water for our irrigation system?
You could, if you can answer it, Christine, whoever is more knowledgeable about the subject. No, could you do it with a microphone? You can do 2 mics. We got 2. I think so.
Mr. Coates, I know you've talked to Christine, you met with Christine. I think you might have met with the superintendent about it, and I know you have some concerns about it. I don't, without having the paperwork in front of me, I don't want to give you exact parameters, but I could tell you that a while ago, Jamie Bruce had some people come in and take a look at what we had and what we could do. And they assured us that the water, there was plenty of water there to irrigate what we needed. And then I believe when we had the company come out most recently to talk to us about redoing our system, they again looked at that and concurred that that was something that we were able to do.
Okay, well, as you know, I have a little experience, working on the athletic fields and, using the old well to run the water cannon that we used to run back in, let's see, 2015. I could run that well dry, and that would be putting out no more, anywhere near the amount of water that an irrigation system would be. And I also did a little calculations before I came. Just to water the soccer field, you should be able to put at least an inch of water a week on the turf. It would take 34,000 gallons to accomplish that. So, I don't know if that system is capable of putting out 34,000 gallons of water, to water the fields.
Sure. So I'm not a field irrigation expert. I don't know how much, and I don't even know how much you should water the grass, quite frankly, let alone how much it would
One
take.
inch a week.
But what I can tell you is that the study that was done most recently is available. I think you have a copy of it, but that would give you how, whatever they figured out is in that study. I don't know this water cannon. I don't think I was necessarily around for that. I don't know how efficient it was. And then I can tell you that the letter from the study that Jamie Bruce had done along with Peter Nero some time back is also available. I think you've also seen a copy of that, but I can get you copies of
No, I
all of
haven't
that if
seen
you'd like to review it.
I'm very concerned about, we're gonna go spend X amount of dollars. And the other issue is when you need the system, it may not be, the water may not be there. I think when they did the study, the swamp level was up. And that swamp, plays a big part in the water level on the athletic fields. So in the summertime, when you need the water and the swamp, and we haven't had rain for a month, and the swamp is down, the water table is way down. So you're not gonna have water to use in the irrigation system.
Yeah, you make an excellent point. We would have to make sure that
Okay, I'm
that
just-
test was done at the right time. And certainly it's a question that we can ask of the
and
people
right
doing it.
time is, Stephanie, is in the summertime when you need it.
Right.
If the water table is, if the swamp is dry or down, and it has been dry. Fortunately,
For
this
sure.
last summer and this spring and this summer, we had a wet season. That plays a big part in the water level of the swamp.
Yep,
I'm not here to question. I'm just here, 15 years of experience out there who was concerned about keeping the water, grass watered and everything. And what I had to deal with, and now you're going back to using the old system. There's 3 tanks in the ground for a reservoir for water. Last I knew, there was only 18 or 15,000 gallons in those 3 tanks. 15,000 gallons isn't gonna get you very far.
Okay, thank
Again,
you.
it certainly is something that we can talk about, and I know you've been concerned.
Well,
I appreciate it.
I've
Well, we
offered,
can- I can follow up with you.
to sit down and talk to anybody about my experience, and nobody wants to talk to me, so.
I'll follow up with you, Mr. Coates, and we'll get you into talk.
Lisa, I have a quick question. Nicole Porter, 44 Pinecrest Road. Wayne, I'm sorry to have made you go all the way back, but can you come back for a second? I'm just interested in your experience. Is there an alternative? Knowing that the irrigation of the fields is a priority and kind of step one to getting the fields into really good order, do you have an alternative?
When I was on the permanent school building committee, that was one of our concerns. We went to the state of Connecticut and asked if we could take water out of the swamp. They gave us permission to take 50,000 gallons a week out of the swamp. Of course, we'd have to put in a system to accommodate that and everything. So if we did about 50,000, to irrigate the whole complex out there, it would take 350,000 gallons a week. So if we did 50,000 gallons a day, that would accomplish our 350,000. I'm just throwing numbers out of what we discussed. So the only other alternative that, cost was a big factor. Even the irrigation and the water supply that I'm concerned about was something that we didn't really pursue because we didn't feel that the well was adequate to do what we're looking to do now. So the only other alternative was going to the state.
Was this?
And for somewhere, we had a document that gave us that permission. I don't know where it is today, because I'm going back 20-some years. So, but
Thank you.
that's the only other option.
Thank you.
Wayne, I got one comment too, sorry. So you're most concerned in the middle of the summer when the school's not in session and the school's not using the fields, correct? So would your concern be getting the fields ready for soccer in the fall? Because we're in a drought in the summer and the fields aren't being used. We could not water them, correct, if we're in a drought, and if in days it does rain, we don't have to water.
But that is when, summertime is when you need to keep them irrigated. In my thoughts, in my experience, because you get 90-degree weather for 2 weeks, they're just gonna burn to a crisp. And I've been through all that also.
We could water less in the summer, couldn't we, if there's no teams are using the fields?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just throwing things out that I'm concerned about the old.
Oh, and I appreciate, and I know your experience with it,
And
so.
if the experts say we have enough water. There's old tanks in the basement of the building, isn't there?
I'm not sure.
Isn't there those fire suppressant tanks?
Christine, not to put you on the spot, but would you have more in-depth details with regards to the study? Thank you.
Is this on? No. Now, good? Okay. So Wayne, I appreciate it. And we have met several times and discussed about it. You've come to a few of our meetings, so we really appreciate the history you brought with us and gave us a lot of things to take a look at.
We talked to the board once.
Right. But you and I have met, and we met with Troy as well. So in addition to the field study, we did the quote that we got to do the irrigation was from a company that does irrigation work. So they did look at the old tanks. We've actually replaced some parts on those old tanks. And then we also have the existing well. They felt very confident with the numbers that they had and what's needed in the summertime, because we do need to irrigate in the summer to have those fields ready to go. And some of the things they were looking at was not during the summer this year. It was prior to us putting in the STEEP grant. We had come off of a very dry year. So that's the things that they looked at and felt really confident that we could get this done with the water source we had. Worst case scenario, we could look at drilling another well, but they didn't think that that was something we would have to do. We would not be tapping into the town water system ever. So I want to make sure that's clear that that would not be an option. We can't afford to pay for city water, and we don't want to take away from city and town water. So it was a separate company that did the quote for the irrigation. And we felt really confident, and that's why we went to an outside expert company to do this, so that we felt really confident with the information we were getting and what they were looking at, if that's helpful at all. Any other questions for me at this point?
Do you know how many gallons that the well would put out?
I do not. I'm going to kind of go off a step there. I am not an irrigation specialist. That's why we really wanted to go with a company that was, to make sure they knew exactly what they were doing. We know we need irrigation. The Board of Ed knows the fields need a lot of work that have been neglected over the years, just for funding and everything else. But so we went to an expert in irrigation to get the information that they had on it. Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to move on now and give other people a chance for comment. Wayne, you could come up after if you have other questions or concerns. Would anyone else have a comment? Gary and then Mike Anderson. Gary and Nino, you recognize, then Mike.
Gary Nino, 91 Main Street, North Stonington. Sorry for Christine or Stephanie. Do we have any idea what the uptick on the mowing is a result of irrigating the fields? Because that's going to track. Hold on, I got another one before you get up. And I'm a little concerned about pouring additional money into this facility. We deferred the maintenance on the building when the school was getting a new school. Then the town got it. We deferred maintenance again. We're putting more money into a building that we got along just fine without. We've got one commercial tenant paying about $30,000 a year in rent. So based on 200,000 plus investment, you got like an 8-year return on investment for this roof and the HVAC. Take it away, Bob, and Steph.
So Gary, so you say we were doing well without this. I would not want to have a meeting like this in the old conference room at the new town hall, because we wouldn't fit. So that was where we had our previous meetings, or we would use the school auditorium, or we'd use the school cafeteria. This is a room that's dedicated to meetings, and we have microphones and a TV screen set up, and we can come without disturbing, moving furniture in a cafeteria off to the side and try to set up chairs and so on. So this is very convenient for us to have a meeting that's always set up and ready to go with IT. Not every town has this. We also have no other place to put the central office. So yes, in the old school, we did have a place, but in the new schools, we don't have a place. And we always wanted to separate the central office from the main school buildings anyway. We do have a tenant. She's using the first floor. She's probably going to move to this, also use the second floor very shortly. But when you say what we could do without this building, I don't know how we could do without this building. Yes, we've grown into it. I know you use that terminology. We have grown into it, but it's a building it's something that we have that we should use. If I didn't have this building, we'd have to find other places for meetings. We would be paying additional janitorial fees. We have to find a place to house the central office. We wouldn't have this wonderful early learning center next door, which it's been a big positive for the town, because you try to get, and you and I have not had young children in a while, but you can't find early learning centers. I know that firsthand. So with that said, this is a big plus for the town to have this building. And when you say we're dumping money into it, we're putting a new roof on. It's going to be there for years and years. The roof has a leak in it now. And it costs money to have a building like this. To build something like this would be very expensive, as you know. There you go. Point, counterpoint.
Sorry, I probably didn't state it properly. I'm concerned that the amount of revenue that the income is throwing is not going to offset what it's going to cost to maintain it. So we all look at a steep grant as free money. So we put the investment in, but then we're locked into this building for a period of time where we only have $30,000 or maybe $60,000 of revenue coming in. Sooner or later, the cost to maintain the building that we've invested in is going to outpace the rent we're getting. And that's my concern. We need to start looking at this from a business perspective.
So what's the alternative? Where do I put all these people? What do we do?
So it gets back to my broad statement about we grew into it, Bob. We found a way to use a building that we didn't need before.
The building I didn't need, I took down. I need this building.
No, so we had the town hall. We've got a fine school that we just built on the other side of the road. We should be able to utilize that in the off hours for town meetings and such. We shouldn't keep bricks and mortar and infrastructure of a building that isn't required. That's my concern. And if we do, we got to throw enough revenue to cover the cost to maintain it. I'm good, but
Thank you.
we can agree to disagree.
Thank you.
Okay, Steph. Steph, did you want to comment?
So.
And it's not questioning the decision to irrigate the field. It's that the school budget is going to have to increase for the additional mowing. That's going to be equipment. It's going to be time, and just roughly. So how often do we mow it now? And if you double it, what's it going to be? I mean, there's a triggered incremental. Yeah, but what I'm saying is we should not enter into something that forces us into an incremental expense spend and not know what that is before we make the decision to do it. But, all right, I'm going to push back one more time. True strategic planning is not how can we make the most out of our capital investment or make the most out of the available capital to invest. There's also the triggered incremental expense associated with that investment. So you've got a bigger school. It costs more to invest or more to maintain or less. You've got irrigated fields. We're going to be mowing more or less. And if we're going to mow more, how much more? And do we have to buy a big new tractor for the school associated with this decision, for instance? I mean, all those things should be thumped out before we proceed with we've got to irrigate all the fields and all the lawns.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to move on. Mike Anderson, Joe Casada, and then Ann Norwalk. Mike Anderson, you're recognized.
Mike Anderson, 83 Cedars Road. I just wanted, we're here to vote on whether or not we're going to move this appropriation, which doesn't cost the taxpayers any money at all. It's coming from 80% is coming from the steep grant and 20% is coming from your non-lapsing account. I just want to make sure that everyone here understands that. And then you have to go out and get an RFP.
Pardon me,
Yeah,
Mike, can you
absolutely.
talk into the microphone for online purposes?
Yep, sorry.
Thank
And
you.
you have to go out and get an RFP and do all the work before you're able to spend the money. This just allows us to move forward with that next step. And that's all I really want to make sure that everyone understands. That's what we're here for. Thanks.
Thank you. Joe Casada, you're recognized.
I understand where you're going from right now. Me and you are on the same page with that, but I think the concern is, the confusion is that it seems like there's a lot of unknowns, and the person who should be here as far as irrigation should have been here tonight to explain this, because the numbers being thrown out. And I hate to say, I believe more Mr. Coates than anything else right now, because he's been there such a long time and knows what's going on over that field. It would have been nice if that person who quoted the job or knows what the calculation would, should have been here that night. So that's my only not so feel comfortable about asking for this money. And I understand it's only a steep grant, we're putting a portion of it, but there seems like to be a lot of unknowns. But that's no here or there, unless I'm missing something, Steph. So where do we get the $200,000 total? It could be more, it could be less. So that would be, if it's more stuff. Yeah. Yeah. That's just my feeling. Yeah. And to follow up, Bob, with Gary and you were saying about your building, if you want to, I think it would have been good idea for the Board of Selectmen to get together and said, let's do a study of all the buildings we have in this town. And I was always a push about consolidating, and maybe the thought about saving this building and dumping money in this building. Maybe you should like close the old town hall, the annex, and move everybody into here. So you could save some money in that end and invest more in here. But
That doesn't fit within the deed restriction.
it does not. So I learned something new. But again, I agree with you saying about you gotta bring in more money before you shelling out on the other end. So it's gonna come back and bite you sooner or later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can
Ann?
I just respond real quick to Joe?
Yeah.
Joe, I also wanted to let you guys know that it will go through an RFP process for the school, but this has been talked about at Board of Ed meetings for, I don't know, a year, and they've gone through it, and the Board of Ed was going to spend the whole amount out of their undesignated account, which obviously we have no decision in that. That's a Board of Ed decision. The town doesn't get to decide if they're spending that or not. So what this does is this provides us to spend $50,000 of town funds instead of $200,000 of town taxpayer dollars to do so. So I think that's an important part of this, that it was happening no matter what. It's just how is it being funded? And secondly, yeah, consolidation of buildings is something we should look at some point, but it's just like when the new firehouse was being built, and we talked about trying to, if it was the EMS building, emergency services building, should the state police be there? And the fire company didn't want that consolidation over there. So we have to look at everything. So just stating the facts.
Thank you. Ann? Do you want me to bring you the microphone? You can do.
I'm just waiting for my time.
It's all yours.
Why people got a whack it. Okay, and I'll walk Northwest Corner Road. I agree with protecting your investment and the safety of the kids, so I think you should do this. My concern is for who is going to manage this whole work, because when those tanks are empty, you got to fill them right up again, so they're there when you need them. So that certainly a lot of oversight that's necessary, as long as that's provided. So they're no good if they run dry and don't get filled up when the rain comes. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Judy Main, you're recognized.
Hi, Judy May, Norwich Wesley Road.
couple things. I know they were talking about this building and about the use of the building. Let's not forget that alternative ed is over here, the PTO is over here, the giving closet is over here, and the food pantry is over here, which are all valuable resources to the town. And as far as the school irrigation field goes, the POCD, the last one that we had, it was very high on everybody's list to get the fields done. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Berardi.
Connie Berardi, Pine Woods Road, and I'm also a registrar of voters. This building is now being used to vote. And where in the past we used the small meeting space at the new town hall. With the tax collector space in there now and the turnouts that we've been getting for major elections, there would be no way that we could support and fulfill people coming through in a timely manner. We also store our equipment here. And if we didn't have this building to work with, we would have to be moving our equipment either to the school to vote, to the firehouse to vote, or to the rec building to vote. So I want everyone to be aware of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Coates?
I really don't want people to think that I'm against improving our athletic complex, because I'm certainly not. I spent 15 years out there dealing with the same kind of stuff that we're dealing with today. And with the help of a good gentleman from East Lyme, I have pictures with me tonight that we were able to, first of all, when I came here, the baseball field was not able to be used because of they just finished the construction when they redid the fields. They put down soil that on the infield that was unusable. So I had to go and figure out a material that we could use. And we finally got the kids out there playing baseball on the softball and baseball fields. So we got through that. And then for 10 years, with the help of this gentleman from East Lyme, who knows and understands turf and insect infestations and everything you can think of, we had some of the nicest fields in the area. And we often got compliments from other schools that came here to play their games. And then unfortunately, 2010, well, actually, the state, we were using minimal amount of chemicals on the fields, and we created nice fields. Then the state came in and said we couldn't use certain chemicals. So there was no chemicals available for grubs or anything like that on the market. So fortunately, we got the residual effect for 3 years, 4 years of the previous chemical use. And then all hell broke loose. And if anybody that was around during the grub infestation time, it was not pretty. And I also have pictures of that. So from 2015, 2013, we're gradually working back to getting our fields somewhat decent for the kids to play on since that time. So it's been maybe 10 years. They just came out with a chemical that you could use for grubs. There were different things on the market that we looked at, but they weren't cost effective to use. Fortunately, a company in Brantford created a grub control that was acceptable by the state to use. So I don't know if the previous or the last maintenance person was able to, I think he put on one treatment that I know of. But anyway, my question now is, after we've already spent X amount of dollars out there now improving the fields. They look great. I'm happy for the kids. I'm glad they're getting the improvements that they need. Maintenance going forward. Do we have a program to maintain the fields going forward? And also, do we have somebody capable that is able to treat the fields? Because now with the state regulations, the person has to be a certified applicator to put the stuff on the fields. So who is that person going to be?
Thank you, Steph. And then next, Christine has found some detailed information with regards to the study, but Stephanie will
So again,
respond first.
I know you know so much more than I do about taking care of these fields. I think it's again important to just circle back and remember tonight, we're not here to vote
I
on
understand that.
on things like the maintenance plan or application of the pesticides that we're allowed to use on the fields. Today, it's just the very beginning of the process. It's going to allow us to go down this road to collect the RFPs. What I can tell you is that the company that we spoke with also followed up with us about the maintenance plan. So once this happens, what we'll have to do, what the schedule is, and how much that's likely to cost us every year. So that was folded into the original 3 options that I spoke about, and of course would be part of any RFP process.
Okay, but all this stuff should be going out to bid.
It absolutely has to go out
All
to
the
bid.
treatments on the fields will be going out to bid.
It will be, yes.
Fields will go out to bid, and I think Christine found the email that has the detailed gallon information that you were looking.
Okay, and just one other thing. I offered to come, I'd like to come and sit with the Board of Ed and talk to them a little bit about, because I don't feel that I've had the opportunity to express my concerns or my knowledge of what we've done on the fields. So I'm offering that to you again to come. I know I met with Christine and Troy, but that was, I don't think it really went anywhere.
I'll absolutely circle back to you. Thank you.
Christine, thank you.
Sorry, I'll go quick, but I just want to make sure everybody understands that we did do due diligence on this. So just a couple of things. The condition of the fields has changed since the building project. There was a lot of debris, a lot of the dirt, things that were left after the building project. That area was used as a staging area for a lot of the building project. A lot of compacting happened. A lot of things happened to those fields in the last few years that hadn't occurred maybe 8, 10, 12 years ago. So the water study for the irrigation was done by the chief operator of the Southeastern Connecticut Water Authority. And not to get into too much detail, but let me just give you a little bit of information because I just want to make sure everybody understands we have researched this. The current system is, while old, is adequate for the task, subject to pipework being adequate. There are 2 pumps. There are 3 times 2,000 to 3,000 gallon holding tanks. Average irrigation needs per field per day is 2,000 to 3,000 gallons. It would provide more than enough water for the athletic field needs. And then it talks more about each field, the replacement valves, and the replacement of some pumps that the Board of Ed has already done on those. And then it continues to talk about hiring engineering services, 3 bids, and continues to get into more detail about gallons and such like that. So that was not in the field study, which was a separate 60-page study, but actually from the water authority that came out and reviewed our water supply before going out for the irrigation. So just hopefully that helps everybody understand the work that was done there.
Christine, before you step away, Nicole Porter, 44 Pinecrest. I know you guys handed in a quote for what you're looking at. What are you comfortable knowing that when it finally goes out to RFP, what are you comfortable taking out of the non-lapsing if that price should go up for whatever reason? Is there a limit that you all have set on what you're comfortable taking out of the non-lapsing?
No, we haven't set a limit, but we were when we looked at our non-lapsing, irrigation was something that we had earmarked in that account to cover fully out of that account.
Okay, so it's a high priority.
It
and
was
you'd be-
one of the number 1 priorities, which is why we brought it forward into STEEP.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
just want to make one more comment regarding the steep. So the steep's been approved by the state. And if you guys don't know, it's in the governor's budget, how much he approves or how much is in for steep grants throughout the state. It doesn't happen every year. I think before last year, the one prior was 4 years before that, close to that. But what has to happen is once the state approves our request, we have to, as a municipality, vote to fund that project at a town meeting like we are. If for some reason that does not get approved, then we lose that money. We can't go back after it unless next year the governor has it in his budget again. And I think, Bob, you found out that it doesn't look like it'll be in next year's budget, a steep grant. So there are some concerns that, yes, I understand that you might not have all the details you want about the exact cost, but just like anything else, you have a rough quote of what it would be before it goes out to RFP. So we can't send out anything out to RFP basically until we approve it tonight. And then it goes out to RFP for quotes, and hopefully it comes in lower than the 200,000. We did it for last year. We did it for the blacktop. We did it. What was on last year's? Yeah, roads in Kingswood. These are the things that are covered through steep. But I just want to stress that it's been approved by the state on these projects. If we vote no, it's not like we can reapply next month or get that money down the road. It could be 2-3 years from now to get that financing.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay, I would ask for a motion. Did I hear anything? No. Okay, then I would ask for a motion to move the question to vote. Ann Norwalk, second. Mike Anderson. Antoinette, could you read the call, please, for the second question?
Question number 2, shall the town approve an additional appropriation in the amount of $426,153 for use of partially reimbursable state steep grant funds for improvements of buildings and athletic fields as recommended by the Board of Finance?
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Now, at this time, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Ann Norwalk, second. Nick Mendolia. Thank you, everyone.